I was originally going to make this a podcast, ladies and gentlemen, but I feel like there was enough news topics on this video to where I'm just going to make it a YouTube video. In this video, we're going to talk about a lot. We're going to talk about Curtis Granderson announcing his retirement, the beautiful tribute that the Lakers did yesterday for Kobe Bryant. We're going to talk about Bradley Beal and Devin Booker, both being pissed they are not in the NBA All-Star game. We're going to talk about the first time in 8 years there's not a Golden State Warrior in the All-Star game. And I believe last but not least, we're going to talk about the Mahomes and Brady comparison, which I believe is 10 years too early. These are a lot of different topics. I thought that the Lakers executed perfectly on the Lakers tribute, and it was something special, especially LeBron's speech as well. So we're going to talk about all of these topics, and this is definitely going to be a news video if you haven't seen one yet that you're going to want to see. So let's talk about all this. We're going to kind of dodge around here. Different topics. We're not going in any specific order. Some of these topics will have you with zero interest. Some of them you'll really want to hear. I know that the Lakers game was pretty late yesterday. The tribute started at about 10:30 and lasted about 15-20 minutes. And the game itself didn't end till I think probably 1:30. I actually fell asleep. And usually I'm up pretty late. So before we talk about that, let's talk about something baseball related, and that is Curtis Granderson announcing his retirement. Now, it doesn't come as a shock to me. I have some type of resemblance to Curtis Granderson based on his baseball tenure with the Yankees. For me, Curtis Granderson is not quite a Hall of Famer, but he's one of those players, at least in my opinion, that I think had a good career, and was classy throughout the whole thing. And he's just one of those players that you can appreciate. He was not everybody's favorite player, but to me, I really liked Curtis Granderson. I thought that he was a good outfielder. He was a good hitter. He would make hits when it counted. He's known for me mostly through his tenure with the Tigers. And if you want to know something, and this is just out of the realm of kind of just noticing this, every player that has left the Detroit Tigers, which is a terrible team now, has gone on to do better. And that's just weird. I noticed it with Max Scherzer. He left. He went on to the Nationals, and he's a star right now. Justin Verlander went on to the Astros, star. And Curtis Granderson, he wasn't winning MVP bouts, but he went on to the Yankees, played a couple years with us, went on to the Mets, Blue Jays, and he just kind of fell into that hole that a lot of baseball players do towards the end of their career, where they find themselves bouncing off of one-year contracts just in and around the league. But he did announce his retirement the other day. I personally like Curtis Granderson a lot. I think he's a little bit of an undervalued player to have on your team. Again, he was not the piece of gold in a trash can, if you will. But he was a good player, and he definitely deserves some recollection or recognition for the things that he did in his MLB career, because I definitely appreciated Curtis Granderson. The next thing I want to talk about is NBA All-Star related. To me, more than any other sport, the NBA All-Star voting system is completely rigged. Now, how credible can a system be in terms of All-Star voting if it's fan voted? NBA All-Star voting has and always will be, for me, based on popularity. And again, that kind of trends me to my next subject, which is Bradley Beal not making the All-Star game. And now, some of you could make a case for Bradley Beal not making the All-Star game. He's a very good player, an underrated player. But the Washington Wizards are terrible. They're not a good team, and they haven't been. John Wall was a star point guard, and he is always hurt. He is turning into a injury-plagued player that is always hurt. When John Wall was on the court, he was a great point guard, but he's always hurt. The Wizards have lost some of their players, and the Wizards have just not really found that groove, and they've been sinking towards the bottom half of the Eastern Conference. Part of that problem is that good players like Bradley Beal are not getting the recognition that they deserve because of that. I feel like team success is something that should be factored into an all-star vote. If you're the best player on your team and your team is 40 games below 500, I don't necessarily think you deserve an all-star vote. And I know that sounds crazy, But it's, again, if you're an all-star, you're going to elevate your teammates and you're going to create some kind of success within the team. And that has not been something that that Bradley Beal has done with the Wizards. Bradley Beal has been a great player, and he is a very good player. But I just, and he says it's kind of BS, and I kind of agree with him. You know, um, I think that he deserved to be in the All-Star game. But again, I don't know off the top of my head the shooting guards in the East. I don't know who is starting. Oladipo was out the whole year, so it's not him. It's probably right off the top of my head. I'm gonna look so stupid, but anyway, he's not starting, and he's not even a reserve. So that's kind of one of those things where people are kind of, well, why is Bradley Beal not in the All-Star game? And another player that thinks the same thing, and I am 100% on his side, an even better player. Devin Booker is also extremely frustrated as to why he's not in the All-Star game. And now the Suns are a decent team. They're not, breaking any records, but they've made a lot of improvement, and it's something that the New York Knicks need to do, or find a way to do somehow in the future. Devin Booker is one of the best. He's a top 5 shooting guard to me in the NBA. And just because his team is average or below average, he doesn't get that recollection. I know James Harden is starting at shooting guard in the West. Off the top of my head, I don't know who the reserve is, but I just think that it's unfair, especially for someone like Devin Booker. Like, how can you sit here and tell me that Devin Booker is not an All-Star in the NBA All-Star game? It is just, and I don't think that he meant it in the terms of taking shots at other players that made it instead of him. It was just from the standpoint of, how is Devin Booker not an all-star when XYZ is, without mentioning their name. That's something that really rubbed me the wrong way, because the Suns have made some improvement. Again, they're not winning necessarily anything. They might, if they're lucky, sneak a playoff spot. They're trending towards 9, 10, and 11, I believe, right now in the Western Conference. So it baffles my mind how someone like Devin Booker won't be an all-star. And there are certain players that could be out the whole season, or at least the first half, and still get into the NBA All-Star game based on their popularity. And I'm not going to mention any names because I don't really know who that happened to this year. But that would be like if Zion Williamson was to get put in the All-Star game. Think of him being put into the All-Star game right now. It would just not, like, it's really, like, you know what I mean? It's just that is a thing off the top of my head. But that's one of those things where I think the NBA All-Star system has to change a little bit. You give fans power, but the fans are vote with their heart. And we all do that to an extent. Even when we sports bet, whatever we do, we all tend to do that a little bit. But I definitely think the NBA All-Star system has to be looked at a little bit more in just terms of certain things. Obviously, every player can't make it, but I just think that some players get robbed. But I've also thought that James Harden was robbed of MVP, and Russell Westbrook's been robbed of MVP quite a few times. But that's a whole different animal. That's the best player of the league that season. Staying on the All-Star trend, there are no Golden State Warriors in the All-Star game for the first time in 8 years, and that is damn sure, because the Golden State Warriors are a top 3 worst team in the NBA right now. I'm going to make a separate Bring It to the Table video talking about maybe the downfall of the Golden State Warriors. But it's just, to me, it's just nobody on that team has played to all-star caliber. We saw Eric Pascal in the first half of the season really ball out, but is he on that all-star level? Especially in the Western Conference, small forwards. The Western Conference is loaded. I mean, you're not getting over LeBron, so that's a given. Who else? There's just so many names in the Western Conference making the All-Star game. It's going to be very, very difficult. So there's no Golden State Warriors. Steph Curry went down very early in the season with an injury. I think that if he would have stayed, would have stayed healthy, he obviously would have made that cut. Klay Thompson hasn't played at all, and he probably won't this year. There's no need to. Don't rush it back. They did the same thing with KD in the finals last year. He just wanted to help the team, and he had re-injured his prior injury, and it was 10 times worse. And it cost him the whole season, and I believe KD will be fine, but what if he never comes back the same? So that's just kind of where I'm going with that standpoint on that. There's been Draymond Green hasn't done anything of value. You have certain guys on there, but it's just It's not there. The chemistry's D'Angelo Russell had played hard in the beginning, but he's not, point guard in the West again. Russell Westbrook, Damian Lillard. I mean, the point guard spot in the West is going to be really, really something. So there's no Warriors in there, and I think that there's none that really deserve to be. The team is 25 games, 26 games below 500, or 20 games or whatever it is, and at that rate, there's who could be playing that well. The next thing I want to go over is the Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady comparison. Now, Patrick Mahomes brings something different to football. We all know this, and we could see, being fans, as long as we have the potential that he really has. He has the potential to leave an impact like Tom Brady, but I'm putting emphasis on potential. When he woke up this morning, he had 0 rings. When he wakes up tomorrow morning, he will have 0 rings. When he wakes up Monday morning, he will either have still 0 or 1. That means that if he has 1, he needs 5 more championships just to get in the same link with Brady. We see all of the potential that Patrick Mahomes has. We see how mobile he is, how accurate he is, how great of a quarterback he really is. But the comparisons to Tom Brady, it's really, can we slow down? So many of you are just sipping that Mahomes tea, and I don't blame you because the guy's great. But Tom Brady has 6 NFL titles. How many times in NFL have we said that there's going to be this person that does this, and it doesn't happen? It does not happen. I said, he's phenomenal, by the way. I said that when Russell Wilson got that first ring, the Seattle Seahawks and the entire team is about to go on a tear. 2 years later, half of their defense vanished. Russell Wilson was still phenomenal. Their offense was lacking, but the Seahawks obviously has regained their composure. Not to the extent of what that 2015 team was, because I would love to see that 2015 Seattle Seahawks defense going against this Kansas City offense. So it's just Mahomes has the potential. Could he do it? It's possible, but just to already have those comparisons, if you're comparing it to the standpoint of him being the next face of the NFL, okay, but the next Tom Brady, can we pump the brakes just a little bit? That's just kind of where I stand on that. And the final topic, the emotional tribute. The Los Angeles Lakers played their first game last night since the tragic death of Kobe Bryant, his daughter Gianna, and 7 other victims. First thing we saw when 10:30 the tribute began was Usher singing Amazing Grace. Usher is undervalued and underappreciated because that was absolutely beautiful. Then we saw a guy named Ben Hong playing on violin, and as he did that, there was a tribute that was aired on the Megatron, located above the arena that they have up every arena. I'm not going to even explain. We all know what a Megatron is. But, and it was about 4 or 5 minutes of just Kobe being Kobe, doing the things he did, talking about the work that he put in, and just how important he was to that organization. I can't imagine what that arena was, because at home I was honestly bawling. I'll be honest. I haven't cried since the day that he passed, but I was bawling. The second they started showing the video sequences of him and his daughter, it was just unbelievable. So that's just kind of where I am with that. I'm still, recover. It's just a hard pill to swallow, just to think that someone like that is really not here anymore. It's really tough, and it's hard. So we saw that for about 5-6 minutes, and that was beautiful. And then that went out, and then all of a sudden we see LeBron walk out to half court. And I'm thinking, does he really have the strength to do this right now? LeBron's superhuman, but does he really have the strength to make a speech? He goes to grab for a piece of paper, and he says, "I'd be selling y'all short if I read off this shit." And that was one of the realest moments of the week, folks. So LeBron goes on, and he talks about just Kobe. We saw how impactful he was, the legacy he had. He talks about everybody mourning. He talks about how great of a father Kobe was, and he talks about how he wants to carry on the tradition of Kobe Bryant going forward. And LeBron says to finish his speech, "Mamba out, but in the words of us, never forgotten. Rest easy, brother." And that was just phenomenal. That was just phenomenal. So that was just the speech that LeBron made. It was an emotional night. The Lakers didn't get it done, but above the scoreboard, the visual scoreboard on the TV, it said "Remembering Kobe," and it was just a great thing. And those one of those nights that you'll remember forever. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. This was just my news, and we might have another video coming up. Probably not until Monday will be our Super Bowl review, and I'm going to have to come up with some intro because I got to go out with a bang. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. The pleasure is mine.